The trembling before the spotlight, Tana Diarma stood just off camera, her hands shaking. Her breath was short, shallow. The makeup team had already touched her face twice, telling her she looked perfect, but her heart wouldn't listen. At the bright lights, the boom mic overhead, the camera lens pointed at the empty space she was supposed to step into. This was supposed to be her moment. The script called for silence at first, just her face. One tear, a look of betrayal. Then a single line whispered through trembling lips. She'd practiced it alone for weeks. But now, everything inside her felt wrong. People were moving around her. Cables dragged across the floor. Someone clapped a slate and called out the scene. Number, she knew the sound. She'd heard it 100 times before. But today, it felt like thunder. Her stomach twisted, and her legs felt like jelly. She wasn't new to acting, but this role, this moment, it meant everything. It was personal, too personal. The line in the script was almost word for word something her mother had once told. Her in Cuba, back then, Anna had been just a young girl, trying to believe in dreams, trying to believe that she mattered. And now, all those memories were crashing into her like waves she couldn't swim through. A quiet voice spoke from behind. Her. Take your time. She turned. It was Keanu Reeves. He stood there calmly, like a quiet lighthouse in the middle of a storm. His hands were relaxed, his eyes gentle. He didn't speak again. He didn't smile or push her. He just stood there, waiting, letting the chaos swirl around them like they were inside. A bubble where only quiet mattered. Anna opened her mouth but said nothing. She didn't have the words. Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she felt too exposed. It was strange. This was just acting, wasn't it? But why did it feel like she was about to cry for real? Keanu looked at her, not like she was failing, not like she was weak, but like she was someone going through something real. And then he said the words she would never forget. You don't have to be perfect, just be true. The way he said it, soft, slow, and clear. It hit her heart. Like warmth in winter, Anna blinked. Her body stopped trembling, not because the fear was gone, but because someone had made it okay to feel it. Keanu didn't tell her to fix herself. He didn't tell her to smile or breathe or toughen up. He told her to be true, to let the moment be what it was. That one sentence changed everything. She stepped forward, slowly. The lights were still bright. The crew was still watching. But her heartbeat found a rhythm again. They called action. The camera rolled, and Anna, for the first time that day, didn't act. She just lived. One tear fell. Her lips moved. She whispered the line. The room held its breath. When they yelled, cut. No one spoke for a few seconds. Then, the director said quietly, that's it. That's the take. Anna looked around. No applause, no loud praise. Just quiet respect. But what mattered most was Keanu. Gave her a small nod like he knew what it cost her to get through. That and then walked away. Not to steal the moment, not to make it about him. That night, Anna sat alone in her trailer. She kept hearing his words. You don't have to be perfect. Just be true. She wrote it down in her journal. She didn't want to forget it. Not ever. The next day, everything changed between them. They weren't best friends. Not yet, but something shifted. Anna saw him differently now, not just as a Hollywood icon, but as someone who understood fear, someone who respected silence, someone who didn't try to fix what was already strong enough to stand, even if it trembled. The set was noisy again. Another scene, another challenge. But this time, Anna felt a quiet fire inside her, and it came from that one sentence. Later, when she was alone on a bench during lunch, still holding her water bottle and script, Keanu sat beside her. They didn't speak for a long time. Then she asked quietly, how did you know I needed to? Hear that? He looked at the sky for a second, like searching for words, then replied, because I've needed to hear it too. Anna felt tears press behind her eyes again, but not from panic, from relief. There was something about knowing even the strong ones had trembled once. It made the world feel less cold. They stayed on that bench a while longer. She didn't know it yet, But that one quiet moment and that one sentence would ripple through her life in ways neither of them could imagine. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness, a sentence spoken gently, a presence held steady, can heal a heart that's on the edge. And the truth is, Keanu hadn't saved her. He had simply reminded her of her own strength, and that ... she would never forget. The mirror behind the Smiliana stood in front of her mirror that morning, holding a brush in one hand and her script in the other. Her hair was half done. Her eyes were still tired. Last night she'd slept barely 3 hours. Her thoughts had stayed awake long after her body gave up. She kept hearing Keanu's voice from the day before. You don't have to be perfect. Just be true. It sounded so simple. But the truth inside those words had cracked something open in her. And now, that crack was letting memories pour in, memories she hadn't touched in years. She remembered her first audition in Cuba. She was 16, nervous, and wearing her cousin's shoes because hers had holes. The casting director barely looked at her. Someone behind the table had whispered something in Spanish, something cruel. Anna had heard it. Too ordinary. Had gone home that day and promised herself she would never let anyone see her fear again. She had learned to smile, to be charming, to pretend, and the panic, the shaking that never left. She just got better at hiding it, until yesterday, until Keanu's quiet kindness made her realize. Maybe she didn't have to hide anymore on set that day. Anna watched Keanu from a distance. He was sitting in the corner of the lot alone, flipping through a worn paperback book. He looked peaceful, almost invisible in the noise. He didn't chase attention. People respected him not because he demanded it, but because he carried silence like a strength. She walked toward him slowly. He looked up and smiled, nodding gently. He didn't say anything, didn't ask why she'd come over. He just made room beside him. Anna sat down and waited. Finally, she asked, "Can I ask you something?" Keanu closed the book and turned toward her, of course. "You always seem so calm," she said. "Were you always like this?" He chuckled softly. "No. I used to shake like a leaf every time the camera pointed at me." Anna blinked. "Really?" "Yeah. I used to think I had to prove something every second. It wasn't until I stopped performing for people and started listening to the story that something changed." "Listening to the story?" she asked. "Yeah, instead of worrying how I looked, I just tried to hear the truth in the moment. What's this scene really about? What's this character feeling but not saying? When I focus on that, the nerves fade." Anna nodded slowly. It made sense. She had been so focused on getting the line right, looking right, breathing right, she had forgotten to just live in the moment. And when the fear comes back, she asked. Keanu smiled. Then I remind myself that fear is a signal, not a stop sign. It means something matters. It's okay to feel it. Anna looked down, her hands in her lap. "It's hard." "Yeah," he said gently. "But you're stronger than you think." She didn't reply. But her chest felt lighter. That afternoon, Anna had another important scene. This one was different. No tears, no quiet whisper. So this time she had to argue. She had to yell. To let anger speak, and that scared her even more. Anna wasn't someone who yelled, not in real life. She was quiet, careful, raised to be polite. Raised to smile even when her heart was breaking. But now, the scene called for her to shout at the person playing her father. The script said she was confronting him for abandoning her, and even though it was acting, the pain felt too close. The director gave her the cue. Action. She tried. She raised her voice. She said the lines. But halfway through, something inside her snapped. Not in the way it should, not emotionally, but physically. Her throat closed. Her voice cracked. The words came out weak. Cut. There was silence. The director didn't shout, just looked concerned. The crew glanced around, unsure. Froze, panic rose again, and then she heard it. Keanu single quotes his voice from off camera. "Anna," he said gently, "what are you really afraid of right now?" She turned toward him. His face wasn't judging. It was curious. Kind. She paused. Breathed, then said the truth out loud. "That I'll look foolish." that I'll ruin the scene. That I'll ru-" Keanu nodded slowly. What if none of that mattered? What if none of that mattered? What if the story needs you? Not the perfect version of you, but the true one. Anna closed her eyes. The set was still. Everyone waited, and then something shifted. This time, she didn't think about her voice. She didn't think about how she looked. She thought about what it had felt like when her real father left. The cold door, the silence, the ache in her chest. She opened her eyes, and when the director called action again, she let the scream out. It was raw, broken, shaking, and real. When the scene ended, the set was completely silent. Some crew members had tears in their eyes. Even the actor playing her father looked stunned. Anna stood there, breathing hard, heart pounding. And for a moment she thought she might faint, but then someone clapped. Just once, then twice, and then. The crew slowly joined in, but the only person she looked at was Keanu. He didn't clap, just gave her a small, quiet bow, a sign of deep respect. Anna nodded back, her eyes full of tears. That night, she couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't because of fear. It was something else, something growing. She opened her journal and wrote down everything. The panic, the honesty. Keanu single quotes his questions. And then, with a small smile, she added one more sentence. Maybe fear. Is the door not the wall? And somewhere in the quiet of the night, she began to believe it. The quiet between the storms. Next morning, Anna walked into the studio early. The sky was still a little dark outside. A soft fog clung to the parking lot, and most of the crew hadn't arrived yet. She liked this time of day when everything was still half asleep, felt honest, unpolished, safe. She had a coffee in her hand and a script under her arm. But what she carried most was something she couldn't name. It's not quite confidence, but a little more peace. She could still feel fear hiding in the corners of her chest, but it didn't control her anymore. It was just there, like a shadow that moved when she did. As she walked toward stage 5, she saw a familiar figure sitting alone on a wooden crate outside the entrance. Keanu, sipping tea and scribbling in a small black notebook. The same. One she'd seen before, always in his coat pocket. He looked up when she approached and smiled. You're early, he said. Couldn't sleep, she replied, taking a seat next to him. Keanu nodded. Yeah, the quiet gets loud sometimes, doesn't it? Anna looked at him, surprised by how perfectly he described what she felt. Yes, she said. It does. They sat there in silence for a while. No pressure to talk, no awkwardness. Just breathing the morning air, watching the studio slowly come to life. Then Keanu asked, Do you ever write things down? Anna shook her head. Not much. Only in my journal sometimes. You should, he said. Write what you're afraid of, what you hope for. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It's just honest. Anna smiled. Like how you said about acting. Keanu nodded. Same thing. Writing is just acting without the camera. It's your soul talking to itself. She looked at his notebook. What do you write in there? He hesitated, then turned it toward her. She saw sketches, phrases, bits of dialogue, a drawing of a face with eyes that looked almost too real, and under one page, in small handwriting, were the words, A whisper in the noise is louder than a scream when it's true. Anna stared at the line for a while. Something about it hit her heart in a quiet way. Did you write that? She asked softly. Yeah, he said. During a hard time. Anna felt her throat tighten. Keanu closed the notebook and put it away. You ready for today, he asked. She nodded. I think so. It's a happy scene this time. I'm supposed to laugh and dance around a living room. He smiled. Those are the hardest ones. Why? She asked, surprised. Because people forget. He said they think happiness is easy to fake, but real joy, real light, that's just as vulnerable as sadness. Maybe more. Anna thought about that all day. When it came time to shoot the dancing scene, she stood on the set, a room made to look like a cozy apartment, and stared at the couch. The fake pictures on the wall, the lights overhead, a speaker played soft. Music in the background. The director gave her simple instructions. Just move freely. Laugh, Spin. Act like the world was light again. Anna tried. She really did. She twirled once, smiled, let her hair fall over her shoulders. She touched the imaginary photo frame like the script said, but it felt wrong. It felt fake, the director said. Cut. Anna looked down, embarrassed. Keanu walked over, calm as always. He didn't say anything right away. Then he asked, "What memory makes you feel light inside?" She thought. Then she whispered, "My grandmother's garden." "When I was a little girl?" "Describe it," Keanu said. Anna closed her eyes. There was a mango tree and an old wooden bench. She'd sit there with me in the afternoons. We'd peel fruit and laugh about the neighbor's cats always fighting. The sun would hit her silver hair and it looked like light was hiding in it. Keanu smiled gently. Could now go back to the scene, not as the character, but as that little girl. Show me that laughter. Anna walked back onto the set. This time, when the music started, she didn't act. She remembered the mango tree, the sticky sweet hands, the warmth of the sun on her skin, the way her grandmother's laugh had made her feel safe. She spun again. Barefoot this time, she laughed, really laughed, and the room came alive. The camera moved gently around her. The director didn't say cut for a long time. He let her live inside that memory. Everyone watching knew this wasn't a performance. It was a window into something real. When it ended, the director wiped his eyes. So did the assistant. Behind him, Anna looked at Keanu. He didn't say a word. He just gave her a small thumbs up. Later that evening, Anna found a folded piece of paper taped to her trailer door. She opened it. It was a sketch of a mango tree. Underneath, it read, "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is remember what made you soft." No name on it, but she knew. That night, Anna went back to her journal. She didn't write about fear this time. She wrote about light, about laughter, about how sometimes the softest moments are the hardest to trust, but the most worth living. And at the bottom of the page, she wrote the words Keanu had said earlier. Real joy is just as vulnerable as sadness. Maybe more. She read them 3 times before closing the book, and as she turned off the lamp beside her bed, her heart felt full. Not because she had done something perfect, but because finally, she had let something true shine through. The storm that wasn't in the script next day started differently. The studio air felt heavier, not because of the weather, but because of what was on the schedule. Everyone on set knew what was coming. It was the scene people had been whispering. About 4 weeks, a powerful monologue, just Anna, just the camera, just pain. The director had called it the emotional spine of the film. A 2-minute take, no cuts, where her character stood alone and told the truth. No tears written in the script, but the weight of years had to be felt in her voice, in her eyes. In the space between her words, Anna had read the scene a dozen times. She had underlined phrases, scribbled questions in the margins. But now, sitting alone in her trailer, something inside her felt unsettled. She held the script in her lap, but her eyes weren't reading it. They were staring at the floor at a crack in the wood. She hadn't eaten breakfast. She hadn't even brushed her hair yet. Outside, she heard footsteps, voices, someone laughing too loud. Someone else calling for lighting, then a knock on her door. Anna didn't move. A pause. Then another knock, softer. "It's me," Keanu's voice said gently. "May I come in?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "Yes." He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The trailer smelled like lavender and old paper. Anna looked small in the corner, knees drawn up, script falling from her lap. Keanu didn't say anything for a while, just sat in the opposite chair, elbows resting. On his knees, then he asked, "What's going through your mind?" Anna shook her head. "I don't know." "Try," he said. "Even if it's messy." She looked at him, her eyes tired, raw. "It's like..." She began slowly. "I'm not sure I deserve to speak these words. They're too honest. Too big. What if I mess them up? What if people don't feel it?" Keanu leaned forward. "You know what makes truth powerful?" Anna waited. Not that it's perfect, he said, but that someone was brave enough to say it anyway. She let the words settle in. I don't know if I'm that brave, she whispered. You all ready? He replied. You're sitting here, still planning to walk onto that set, even though you're scared, even though your stomach hurts. That's bravery. Not loud, not proud, just present. Anna blinked hard. She looked down at her hands. Keanu added gently, you don't have to perform it, just share it, like you'd share a memory. Like you'd let someone look into your heart for 2 minutes. On set, the lights were dim. The background was empty, just a single stool and a gray wall. Anna walked in slowly. Makeup had done nothing fancy. It's just her clean face, natural hair. Everyone stood quiet. No music. No movement. The director said, we're ready when you are. Anna stood still for a moment. Her hands trembled slightly. Then she looked up. Not at the camera, but beyond it, like she was speaking to someone who wasn't there anymore. And then she began. The words came out soft, not practiced, not smooth, but real. She talked about being left behind, about pretending to be, fine, about trying to smile while breaking inside. As she spoke, her voice cracked. But she didn't stop. Her lips trembled, but she didn't hide it. And when the line came, the one she had feared most, she paused, then spoke it anyway. I kept waiting for someone to choose me, but I had to choose myself. Silence. Then the director whispered, cut. No one moved. No one clapped. Keanu, standing off to the side, slowly placed a hand over his chest and bowed his head. Anna walked out of the set, not knowing what to feel. She didn't know if she did well. She didn't know if it would make people cry. But she felt empty in the best way, like something inside had been released, outside the studio. She found a folded napkin under a small rock. It was from Keanu. It read, you didn't act today. You told the truth, and that is rare. Thank you. Later that day, she walked past the makeup trailer and heard 2 crew members talking. They didn't know she was there. One whispered, I think that was the most honest thing I've ever seen on camera. The other said, yeah, like watching someone survive right in front of you. Erna didn't stop. She kept walking, but her eyes filled with quiet tears, not from sadness, but from release that night. Anna stood by her window in silence. The city lights below blinked like stars, but her thoughts were still inside that studio. She wrote in her journal again. Today I didn't hide, and I didn't fall apart. I just stood there and told the truth. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. She placed her pen down, then whispered to herself, thank you, Keanu. Not because he saved her, but because he reminded her that truth, even when it shakes, is still stronger than fear. The silence after applause. Anna thought it would feel different after the scene yesterday, after the quiet shock on the director's face, after the crew whispered her name like it meant something new. She expected something to change inside her. Maybe she thought she'd feel powerful, maybe proud. But now, walking through the hallway of the studio, all she felt was still not empty, just quiet. She passed by people who smiled at her differently now. Their eyes had changed. Some nodded with respect. Some looked at her like she'd climbed a mountain they couldn't see. She returned every smile gently, but kept walking. Not because she didn't care, but because something inside her was still catching up. When she entered the break room, Keanu was already there, pouring hot water into a teacup. He glanced at her, then back at the cup. Peppermint, he said. Simply for nerves. Or after a big moment. She smiled, tired. Thanks. They sat at the small corner table, tucked away from the noise. Anna didn't speak for a while. She stirred her tea slowly, watching the tiny leaves swirl. Keanu waited. Finally, she said, I thought I'd feel different. How do you feel? He asked. Still, she whispered. Like the world stopped moving, even though everyone else is still going. That's the silence slowly. That's the silence after release. It's not emptiness. It's space. Space for what? She asked. For you to grow into who you became yesterday. She looked at him. You did something rare, Anna, he continued. You opened a wound without making it about bleeding. showed people pain without making them look away. I was so scared, she said quietly, and still you showed up. He replied. Anna placed her cup down and exhaled. Then she said something she had been carrying since day one. I always thought being strong meant hiding the fear, but it doesn't, does it? Keanu shook his head gently. No, it means carrying the fear with you and walking anyway. That afternoon, the schedule was light. They were filming background scenes. No dialogue, just mood shots, glances, body language. In one, Anna and Keanu were supposed to sit on a bench in a train station, dressed in old clothes, watching strangers pass. Simple, quiet. Yet something unexpected happened. As the camera rolled, and the extras moved around them, Anna turned to Ward, Keanu, and whispered, I wonder what she's thinking. Keanu followed her gaze to a woman with a suitcase, standing far in the background. The actress playing her looked down at her shoes like they were heavier than her. Maybe, he whispered. Back. She's about to leave something that hurt her. But she's still scared of who she'll be without it. Anna looked at Keanu, her eyes softened. That sounds like you've felt that before. He looked forward. I have. The camera kept rolling. They weren't saying their lines, but something was happening between them. Something quiet and real. Anna rested her head gently against Keanu's shoulder. It wasn't in the script. But no one said cut. The director just watched. And in the background, two strangers became something more than characters. They became a moment. When the scene ended and they walked back to the dressing rooms, Anna asked, Do you always act like that? From memory? Keanu thought for a second. No, not always. But I do try to act from truth, even if the truth didn't happen to me. How do you do that? She asked. I listen, he said. To people, to silence, to what hurts. Truth is always nearby. It just doesn't always shout. Anna looked down at her feet as they walked. I think I want to do that too, she said. Keanu gave a soft smile. You already are. That evening, as the crew packed up, Anna sat by herself on the edge of the soundstage. The lights were off now, cables coiled. Silence all around. She looked at the empty set, a place that had once made her heart pound with fear. Now it felt like an old friend. Not warm, not soft, but honest. She heard footsteps behind her. Mind. If I sit? Keanu asked. Always, she replied softly, patting the space beside her. They sat in silence again. Then Anna said, I think the hardest part isn't the scene. It's what comes after, when you've told the truth and the world claps. At inside, you still don't know who you are without the fear. Keanu looked at her carefully. You are not your fear, he said gently. You are the person who lived through it and kept going. Anna's eyes welled up. But what if it comes back, she asked. Then let it, he said, and walk again. Before they left, Keanu took something out of his coat pocket. A folded page. This helped me once, he said. Maybe it'll help you too. She opened it. It was a short poem, handwritten in fading ink. I was not made of stone, but I stood like it anyway. And when I cracked, I found there was light trying to come through all along. At him, he smiled gently. Don't let applause distract you. Don't let silence scare you. Just stay true. Anna folded the paper carefully and tucked it inside her journal that night. She didn't write much. Just one line. I am learning. To stand, not to perform. And beneath it, she added, Truth is louder than fear, even when whispered. The final day of filming had arrived. Anna stood at the edge of the studio lot, holding her coffee cup close to her chest. The morning sun was soft, not too bright. The air had a quiet stillness that made everything feel gentle. This was it. Months of work, days filled with fear, laughter, trembling hands, and whispered strength. They had all led to this. But the strange part was, she wasn't nervous. Not in the way she used to be. She still felt butterflies, yes. But they weren't wild anymore. They felt warm, alive, like tiny reminders that what she was doing mattered. And for the first time in a long time, Anna felt steady inside herself, When she walked toward the set, the crew greeted her with kind eyes and soft smiles. No rush, no noise. Just quiet respect. Today's scene was simple. No lines. Just her and Keanu sitting together in silence, watching the ocean from a worn bench. As their characters reached the end of their journey, the director gave only one instruction. Just be. That's all. Just be with each other. The set was beautiful. They'd built it to look like a coastal cliff. The blue screen behind them would later become a wide, peaceful sea. A slow breeze moved through the fake grass. Seagulls chirped in the distance, played through a speaker to set the mood. Anna sat on the bench. Keanu joined her, and the cameras rolled at first. Neither of them moved. They simply stared out into the distance, letting the silence grow between them like roots underground. Then slowly, Anna turned her head. She looked at Keanu, and softly, barely above a whisper, she spoke. Not from the script, not from memory, but from truth. Thank you for helping me find my voice. Keanu turned to her surprised, but he didn't break character. He smiled, and then he said, steady, quiet strength. You always had it, you just stopped listening for a while. Ina's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and they stayed that way until the director called, cut. No one clapped, no one spoke. It was too beautiful to interrupt. Later that day, as everyone began wrapping up equipment and saying their goodbyes, Anna stayed behind. She walked through each part of the set slowly. She touched the props, the painted walls, the empty makeup chairs. Everything that once felt so big, so scary, now felt like home. Then she reached her trailer. A small envelope was taped to the door. Her name was written on it in careful handwriting. She opened it slowly and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It read, "You didn't just perform in this film. You transformed through it. You found yourself not by pretending, but by listening. Never forget, truth doesn't need permission, only courage." At the bottom was a sketch, a mango tree, the same one from weeks ago. But now, a small figure sat under it, notebook in hand, head tilted toward the sun. Anna found Keanu near the parking lot, placing his bag into the trunk of his old dusty car. He looked up as she approached. "I'm not going to say goodbye," she said. "Good," he replied. "Me neither." They stood there in silence for a moment. Then Anna asked softly, "Why did you help me?" "You didn't have to." Keanu looked at her and said, "Because someone once helped me. When I was afraid, when I didn't think I belonged, they didn't fix me. They just stood beside me. And now I try to pass it forward." Anna felt tears rise again. But this time, they felt like peace, not pain. "Will I see you again?" she asked. Keanu smiled gently. "Probably not in the same way, but maybe when you're scared again, we'll hear my voice." Anna laughed softly. "I already do." He nodded. Then he stepped forward and did something unexpected. He hugged her. Not tight, not long. Just enough. "Keep telling the truth," he whispered, "even when it shakes." She held on to those words. Years later, Anna stood backstage at an award ceremony. Her name had been called. The crowd had stood. The applause was thunderous. She stepped out onto the stage. In a long silver dress, heart pounding, hands trembling just a little, not from fear, but from the weight of what the moment meant. She reached the microphone, looked out at the faces watching her, and said slowly, "Ash!" With full heart. A long time. I'd go, before a take, I panicked. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. But someone I deeply admire looked at me and said, "You don't have to be perfect. Just be true." I've never forgotten those words. They didn't just help me with that scene, they helped me with my life. And tonight, I want to pass those words to anyone out there who feels invisible, scared, or lost. She paused, breathed, and smiled. You don't have to be perfect. Just be true. The crowd rose again, but Anna didn't hear the noise. In her heart, all she could hear was silence. The good kind, the kind that reminded her. She had made it not by chasing perfection, but by walking with truth. And because one man on one quiet day had chosen kindness when it mattered most.